Epic Chef is an adventure cooking game that takes you on a culinary journey through the open world of Ambrosia. In this 3D game, you play as the character Zest, whose goal is to become the country's best chef. But the road to success is full with various challenges. If you like food, cooking, or being tempted by animated meals, you have definitely come to the right place. The game has a light-hearted appearance with a cozy atmosphere, but it is far from a problematic experience. In this review, I go through the basic aspects of the game and whether it is worth buying. The story is about Zest that ends up on the island of Ambrosia. Without spoiling too much, I can briefly say that his goal is to develop his cooking skills and become as good as possible. He will encounter opposition from different characters who for various reasons want to make life miserable for him. The story is quite interesting, but often it feels quite fragmented. You often come across interesting NPCs that play a significant role, but they disappear before you get to know them. Sometimes it feels like the game story consists of 100 short stories instead of a complete one. The road to become a gastronomic genius is filled with various things that must be taken into account. It's not just about cooking. You need to create a farm that includes animal husbandry, sowing and harvesting crops, fishing, planting trees, building machinery, decorating the house, making sauces, and cooking lots of food. The game contains so many different elements that interact with each other, so it's important to be aware of how everything is connected. You discover after a while that certain objects and products are locked, which requires that you have to do specific things to get ahead in the game, like participating in cooking tournaments, defeating a boss, or completing a specific quest. Gradually, new parts of the game open up. For example, you get the opportunity to open a restaurant. This takes the game in a whole new direction. It gets complicated. And now you not only have your farm to run, but you also have to develop and run your own restaurant with profit. There are so many things to do in this game, it's almost a little too much. You have to be very patient, focus on the right thing, and realize that this game is comprehensive. I think it's quite fun to take small steps forward. The game also has a level up system. You slowly develop your character, see how the farm grows, and how new objects become available. But as I said, you need time. The fights are unique. Instead of fighting in the old typical way with weapons and shields, it's about cooking duels. This is definitely one of the best things about the game. I found it entertaining and tricky to figure out what ingredients to use. It's not always so obvious. If you compete against another chef, the dishes are tasted by a food judge. This means that you have to think about using the right ingredients and its synergies, how the ingredients affect each other. The cooking duels are entertaining and make you think, how can I make a better dish than my opponent? It's not always so obvious how to proceed, but requires that you tinker with ingredients and try different methods until you find the right one and win. This is one of the best aspects of the game, without a doubt. The game is unpolished and feel partly unfinished. If you encounter different objects, they will sometimes vibrate and give an ugly and unpleasant experience. In addition, lots of objects become hollow if the camera is placed in certain positions. The game also suffers from clipping. If you encounter an object, parts of the character's body may disappear. In general, it feels as if the game would need a major design refresh. Of course, it's an extensive process to develop a complete and playable 3D game that also takes place in an open world. Unfortunately, the experience decreases due to various graphics and design problems. For the most part, the game is not affected by the shortcomings that exist, but at one point it became frustrating. I had to interact with an NPC. The problem was that he was standing in the middle of a boat, out of reach. I had to test different angles and positions to be able to interact. In the end it worked, but it was annoying. On the positive side, however, the different environments in the world are colorful and well detailed. Whether you are in a city, forest or in a field, there are lots of different objects and NPCs that create a varied whole. The environments are not empty, rather well filled with different things that make you want to explore further. I played the game on Nintendo Switch and in my opinion I felt that the control was mixed. It was easy to run around or ride, rotating your character 360 degrees and navigating in different directions also worked well. However, it was cumbersome to plant crops or use certain tools. My experience is that it is easy to slip or plant crops in an undesirable way. Many elements of the game do not depend on good control, but it may be worth mentioning that cooking requires only a few buttons and fishing only the A button, so the overall impression is that the control generally feels responsive and works well. It can be a little tricky to orient yourself in the game because there is no map. The positive thing about it is that you are forced to explore different places, which can lead to you find different objects or encountering new characters. But unfortunately, it can also lead to confusion. As the game opens up, NPCs tend to change places or disappear. However, there is a compass that can guide you, but I would have preferred if the game contained a map system. Certainly the world is not that big, but above all, it would have been easier if you knew where important NPCs were located. The game contains a lot of dialogue. You can expect to be interrupted on several occasions to take part in various conversations. Sometimes you can't play for more than a little while before you are interrupted. This is really frustrating. You get no fluency in your game, which makes you feel distance from the game's purpose. There are too many dialogues and too much text. As an example, quite early in the game you should visit the nearby city, but first you are interrupted by the knight and then by the city guard, which is followed by the game loading before you can finally enter the city. I think the game's developers should reduce the number of interruptions to maintain a flow in the game, but sometimes the conversations can be entertaining and hilarious. They are not that serious, which contributes to the game feeling easy and quite fun after all. Epic Chef is a story-driven and comprehensive game that requires time, concentration, and patience. There are lots of things to do, which is quite fun, but the dialogues can sometimes be a bit frustrating. Too many text boxes. The graphics may not be well polished, but the world is still colorful and full of objects to interact with. You can expect bugs that can degrade the gaming experience. It feels a bit unfinished. The best aspect of the game, in my opinion, is the cooking duels and tournaments. The game is about cooking, and I think the developers have succeeded well with this part to make a cooking game entertaining. I can recommend a purchase if you have patience and time, because you need it in this game. Another game that got my attention and that might be worth checking out is Evil Tonight. Click here for a review of the game. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel for more reviews and other content to come. Have a good day, bye!